Hi and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. We're coming to you from BMC Engage in Las Vegas. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with Charlie Betts.
Kirsty.
Carlos Casanova.
Kirsty.
And we're talking with Eric Tung from BMC. Hi,
Yes.
Eric.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Eric. So, Eric, I'm on the advisory board for the College of Engineering from the University of Massachusetts. And, a year or so ago, I spoke to the graduating seniors and I talked to them about their view, what they look like online. And I know you're doing a lot of work around, the social recruiting and whatnot. And I think that's an area that I don't know that everyone fully understands, especially some of the new, the younger generation fully understands from a corporate perspective, the impression that and the personality that they're putting out there.
Yeah.
So, could you speak to that a little
Definitely.
bit,
I heard something like 90% of recruiters actually use social media as a gauge of how professional that person is, how influential they are, and something like 60% even will look up candidates before the candidate knows that they're even considered for the position, right?
Sure.
So even before hey, I have an interview at this one company,
Right.
they might have already have been checking out your background to see if they even want to
Right.
offer you an interview.
So they've sort of done a background interview
Yep.
before they've even got you that far.
Yeah, and something like 1 out of 6 people got their last job through social media.
Wow.
And about 1 out of 3 super social people will have gotten their job through social. So
Do you have a sense of how much that's grown? Because I can imagine that it's almost a vertical line. Over the last 5 years or so. 5 years ago probably wasn't a big deal. Do you have a sense of how much that's grown and the pace at which it's grown? I think is probably what the biggest shocking element is.
I probably couldn't tell you, but definitely there's more and more people that are starting to really get out there and establish themselves more as a professional before they even at the college level,
Right.
getting out there and really making sure that they can have a blog, have somewhere that they can get their thoughts out there, become a thought leader in the space.
Wow.
My cousin's actually a public health major at Berkeley. And I keep telling her, go out there, put out a blog,
Yep.
talk about, listeria, bluebell, talk about, Ebola, talk about all that kind of stuff,
Sure.
how you'd approach that, how you'd manage that,
Right.
what you're learning from that. And once you have a blog post
Yeah.
like that, you can post that on social. You can, engage with other leaders in your industry. And once you have that digital footprint out there, it's almost like, it's what companies figured out 2 years ago, is the more information you have out there, the more that you can talk about it, the better your SEO will be in the end. So job candidates are starting to see that too, is that, if you have 2 people that are relatively evenly matched, and one of them has a blog that they've been talking about the industry for 5 years, and the other person has almost no footprint whatsoever, of course that first person is going to be the person they talk to.
Because
So.
the other side of the equation too, a lot of, you'd say that 1 in 6 or 1 in 3 that gets their job because their social media presence reflects well on them.
Yeah.
There's also, how many people lose the job they never knew they were going to get because their social media presence is negative.
Yeah, and I forgot what that number is. There's a couple
Yeah.
statistics out
Yeah.
there on that.
Are employers looking more to disqualify or more to qualify? I mean,
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So, believe it or not, it is actually worse for you if you have spelling and grammatical errors on your
Yay.
social networks. It's worse for you if you have spelling or grammatical errors than if you have photos drinking.
Yeah.
It is actually
Really?
worse for you, yeah. And so, go through, take a look at your Facebook pages, make sure that you're not using the wrong form of your, or, all those kinds of, right?
Hey, I'm
That's
an
crazy.
absolute grammar nut,
Great.
so I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, and that there's background on why they're doing that, and whether it's they're accepting, it's like they're college kids, they're going to do certain things, so we'll tolerate a certain amount, but yet we won't tolerate grammar that is easily corrected. So, I mean, I'd love to see the psychology behind that, because that's got to be pretty interesting, because they came up with it for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and Charlie, you're involved in a lot of academia, so, you see these kids,
Absolutely. And I keep people, people are always bemoaning the state of, grammar and education, but actually millennials are reading more books,
Yeah.
and I've seen that they're writing more, and, I don't see any reason to, just give up on literacy, But I'm curious, you know, so I mean, what are some of the basics? We mentioned the blogs, you know, LinkedIn. What do you think, where do you put GitHub in all this?
I mean, I haven't worked with it too much myself, so. But yeah, I actually have like a little presentation I'll go out and do for college classes. But yeah, definitely a blog, get your own domain if you can have that. I think that's, you know, it helps out whenever you're applying for a job and you have your, you know, john@johndoe.com kind of email. It just, you know, puts you in that next level, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously LinkedIn, start getting active on there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I reserved, you know, my wife, my kids' names, my name, as soon as, you know, years ago, you know, probably 10 years ago, as soon as they were available, I started reserving them. And, you know, people were like, oh, how'd you get it? You know, how'd you get your name? It's like, well, it was 10 years ago that I just lucked out to think about it. But that's a good point. I mean, now trying to get new names that would reflect on who you are, it's tough.
Well, kids are getting weirder and weirder names these days.
Yeah,
so
so
I'm just waiting for people to start cutting out like vowels out of names, you know, like Flickr and whatever. But yeah, I mean, I registered for my URL probably 1998, 99, and erictung.com was already taken back then.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a DJ somewhere. So
so you get another profession,
yeah.
you know, and it'll tie in perfectly with the whole social thing, right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just get out there.
Exactly. You can tweet me your request.
There you go.
I mean, it's all really interesting because I've got a daughter she's doing a postgrad year in criminology this year, so she's going to be looking for the workforce either next year or the year after when she finishes her research project. So it's certainly stuff that I need to go and talk to her about and say, come on, boost your profile a little bit, because the area she's going to be going into is very competitive, and it's a global. You know, it's a global thing that she's looking for rather than a local one. So.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, having that blog helps to kind of put your thoughts out there.
Yeah.
But then there's also this whole new slew of just like live streaming apps.
Yeah.
Right? So you have your phone, you have your computer, you can talk to virtually anyone in the world that might be a top person in your field. You know, just hop on their Blab, their Periscope, their Meerkat. You can chat with them, question them, ask them what their thoughts on certain things are. So it's even more and more engaging than it ever has been.
The world's certainly got an awful lot smaller in the last 10 years than it was.
Yeah, and I mean, I find, I mean, personally, I mean, I do it. I know, you know, most of us, you know, in our circle kind of do it. You know, somebody reaches out, and I think a lot of times, and if nothing else, you know, I think they need to get out of it is reach out to these folks, because the vast majority of us love it, and we reply back, and we, you know, and we're quick, like, oh, hey, great, and I get excited when somebody, you know, pings me about config, and then, you know, like, oh, I hate to bother you. It's like, no, this is really cool, you know, and it gets me more excited. So I mean, I'm sure you see that all the time, and you got, you know, a huge following, so you know, I'm sure people, you know, probably reach out to you and then at the same time say, well, you know, I don't want to bother you. So I mean, do you find that that's also the case where it's more exciting, and you're finding, you know, great people out there that otherwise, like, you know, Chris said, it's a small world, really, you know, now with the tools that we have out there.
Yeah, well, the more you get yourself out there, the more people will ask you to, you know, contribute to like group blog posts. People will send you an email and say, hey, you know, give me your top 3 favorite social media apps or something, and then they'll consolidate all those. So the more that you get out there, the more you'll be invited to lists like that, or you know, group blog posts and that kind of thing. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Well, Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I think we could probably sit here
Yeah,
and
we
chat
could
to
sit
you
here
for
for a
the
long
next
time.
hour or so, and I really think we're going to have to get you back in this seat again sometime soon, so we can carry on the conversation.
Excellent.
for sure.
So thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate being here.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.